One of the things, I'll just make a short remark here. One of the things about the country is that we have a redemptive character, a redemptive part of the national character, where in fact somebody could do just about anything in Trinidad and Tobago, and they'd be forgiven. In a little while they'd be forgiven, which goes back to the question about Dr. Raleigh and Vanilla topping Allen, where in fact one of the errors, it was a serious error of judgment in the political campaign, one of the errors in that was that in fact Rowley coming under that powerful, nasty attack, let's say it like it was a nasty attack in the parliament, elicited a lot of sympathy. And a lot of people who maybe would never have given Rowley their support immediately saw him as somebody who would face a vicious and a nasty
You do know
attack.
that Vanilla has not been forgiven by and large.
No, and not her. But the point I'm making is that Rowley benefited from being seen as an underdog and so on. Okay, and that's an important part of the character. People can be forgiven, and in fact, it's depressing because you see some people who've done terrible things coming back onto the scene, appearing to be elder statesmen or advisors or all kinds of stuff. It happens every week in the papers, and at the same time, it could be uplifting because you yourself could commit serious errors and refurbish yourself. I think you said laundry earlier on. Clean yourself and return to the scene. But I don't want to say much about the education. We have people.
Yeah, I think I'm going to move this over to Rhoda on this question because you are a teacher currently and you're a lecturer also, but in the area as a teacher and you're looking at what's going on in our schools here. Is it too much to expect that we can get a better hand of this? And if there is no panacea, I understand
there's no
that.
panacea. And there are two areas that have to be targeted. You have to tackle the communities and homes that the students are coming from, that the children are coming from, and you also have to tackle the school system and school environment. And you're looking at the curriculum, you're looking at the infrastructure, you're looking at the training of staff, the kind of staff members, the kind of teachers that you're getting. And then, of course, when they've left that home, because they spend 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes at a school or on a school compound, when they leave that home and they go to the other home, what really is the primary home, what is happening there? So there are two spaces that need to be looked at, and we have to look at what are the problems coming out of those two spaces and how are those problems, because the thing that those two spaces have in common is the child, right? And what are the issues being faced in both spaces, and what are the factors that are contributing to those issues, and then how do we go about revamping and treating with and dealing with that? And it requires research. It requires data. There are lots of things that I could say, but it would just be off observation. It requires serious, hardcore research.
Understood. Let's come into this morning here. Standards and Poor moved us from stable to negative. That's another downgrade. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Let me just say this, because I have been a teacher for 100 years.
That's right. There is a senior teacher in the room. I apologize, Doctor.
Just saying that there's a lot of mitigation going on in the school system. And lots of kids are good. And lots of teachers are contributing to saving kids. You have a few, of course, who are out of hand and out of control. And that clearly needs some attention. But let's also be careful to say a lot of good things are happening in the school system, which involves the salvation of a lot of errant kids. And errant largely because the home has splintered, the homes from which they come, right? For all kinds of reasons that we can't go through now. But I just want to intervene to say there are lots of good kids out there.
Yeah, and forgive me. Whenever he's not in the studio, I refer to him as an expert plenipotentiary. I should have remembered that and gone back into the area of this.
I train teachers. So
right.
I go out to the schools and I see the relationship. I sit in the classrooms. I see the relationship involving student relationship and student-teacher relationship. So I have a very good sense of what's going on.
Understood.
So we have to counterbalance what we are saying. I just needed to say that.
I'm going to keep it on you there for a minute and then go around again. And I want to deal with that whole question of what we are expecting. The reason I mentioned the Standard and Poor downgrade is because the Prime Minister will soon be addressing the nation on the question of how we move forward. in light of this morning, in light of what has happened before, in light of the oil prices that I don't think for the short term will even get back to $40, or at least would not stay there until the United States is finished with their battle with OPEC and Russia. Until that, we have to wait. What are you expecting the Prime Minister, one, to say, and two, equally importantly, is do you think the nation is ready for what is coming? Because I get the feeling some medicine is coming, serious medicine.
Wow, what a powerful question you're asking me. I can't predict what Prime Minister Rowley will be saying, but all of us are aware of what has happened in the world marketplace where oil and gas are concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows. We know where we used to be. We were beyond $100 per barrel of oil, right? And that has plummeted to below 40. I think the price of Brent crude is 38 as we speak.
Yeah, it's been vacillating between 37 and
exactly.
38 years.
And then even worse is the price of gas. It's fallen below. What was it? What used to be 275. It's gone below 200 now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the things are bad, and that, of course, is to be related to how well we have decentralized. Now, a lot of decentralization has taken place in this country, yes, and in fact, sometimes you get the sense that the revenue from those decentralized institutions is greater than the revenue from oil and gas, but they are not sufficient given our continued over-dependence on oil and gas. It's almost as if we cannot learn that we need to do far more on the other side than we have been. And I want to come to this, to say this, that we need to be expanding domestic capital. We need to be doing far more to encourage those industries that can earn foreign exchange. And one of those industries, quite frankly, is an industry that you're quite aware of. It's music. You know, in the Jamaican case, which I know better than the Trinidad case, ironically, in the Jamaican case, music has been bringing in millions of dollars. Music creativity. The bands of youngsters in dance hall and rap and so on are allowed to develop their creativity and sell their music and win foreign exchange. One of the difficulties I have had with Rambaran's, Jawala Rambaran's revelation of the biggest consumers of foreign exchange is that he did not have anything to say about the efficiency of the use. Yes. I mean, why would you tell me about who is using most of the foreign exchange without telling me, well, is that a bad thing? Mm-hmm. Were they misusing it? Mm-hmm. I'm using that as a benchmark to say now we have people who are unsung who are earning foreign exchange, and we need to expand industries like that wherever they are. I'm just using music as an example, which brings me to the government's solution to the parlous circumstances we are in, and mandating that Christmas parties should be curtailed. The expenditure, I think, is the absolute wrong thing to do.
Excess. I thought it was excess is what it was.
Sorry?
No,
what is excess? Because you see, that activity gives the entertainers, gives the artists a chance to do exactly what I'm talking about. You expand the opportunity in that way. You don't constrain it and hope to save money. No, because you are going to affect other players that are really going to be in a position to sell their wares and to go beyond just domestic pleasure to making exchange.
It makes a good case for many who argue that you've got to leave some money on the street for it to circulate. So I understand what you're saying there, but at some point you have to put some boundaries on what
but
you're
we don't
spending.
have any sense of the boundaries. All we are told is that you must reduce it. It's almost as if that is where the problem lies. I'm saying the problem does not lie there. You don't want to choke that talent, choke that opportunity at all. Because there's no explanation that we are given. We are just told, constrain it, cut it down, and so on, without any discussion as to the likely impact of so doing.
I want to get
and
back.
I'm putting it in the broader context of the optimization of domestic capital. And I think if the Prime Minister can spend a lot of time in his speech on how you can expand domestic capital, how you can go into areas in this country where people are developing products that are sellable not only here but abroad, and that can make money, foreign exchange, that we might be in for a good thing, because that could, of course, expand interest in innovation and motivate younger people to get involved in non-traditional industries and so on. But it takes a certain kind of vision and a certain kind of economic understanding.
I'm gonna. I have to do the panel on this question of what you expect from the PM, but I cannot leave this morning without dealing with the governor of the central bank. Yeah. So let me see how I can move the table real fast. If we can get across to Sunity here. Sunity, what are you expecting? One, what are you expecting? Not what he's gonna say, but what are you expecting, and how prepared you think the nation is to accept what we all know is going to be medication?
Well, I prefer to talk about what I hope
rather
than what I expect. Dr. Rowley has to rise to his fullest potential to speak to the whole country. And so clearly articulate the problem that people understand, and describe the outlines of an approach. Now, his Minister of Finance in about March is going to come with a budget review, and that will be significant, I imagine, because the price of oil has not even lived up to $40 they budgeted, right? And he would have had more time, and the information that would have come out of many different studies and so on that are going on. The point about simply cutting expenditure, that's a risky thing, because it immediately crimps spending, and spending fuels the economy. And so the idea of a discriminatory approach, so for example, if you were to take the Christmas parties, you want to satisfy a few things in a Christmas party. You want to make people happy, thank them, have a good time, but you want not to have to spend foreign exchange for your party, but you want to make sure that people, especially the creative community that earns local, and when they do, they earn foreign exchange, if they get to that point where they can travel and earn and so on, that they don't cut back. So the approach has to be highly discriminatory. If you talk about PriceSmart is using so much of hundreds of millions of dollars. Do we want to say, PriceSmart, you're going to get half of that, and end of story, full stop? Or do you want to say to the business community that is utilizing high levels of foreign exchange about the moral suasion that comes in, and this is where the government needs to have the trust of the multiple sectors to ensure that you make that transition to promote the connection with local produce, which PriceSmart does to a small extent. I mean, they do have these little boxes, and they say local lettuce and whatever, but that's not good enough. You want not to shut down the traditional business sector, but you want to push them to investing the profits in productive domestic capacity that has a potential to earn foreign exchange. Not simply to buy local and therefore you're not earning foreign exchange, but you're buying in TT dollars, spending in TT dollars. The country does need foreign exchange for a whole lot of things, including medical supplies, all this infrastructure, capital expenditure, the highways, this and that and the other. We need foreign exchange. And so this is a historic transformation that has been waiting to be made long before independence. How do you diversify the base? There are long-term solutions, like developing the creative sector, export, putting muscle behind them and so on. But then you have immediate problems. Next month, how do you pay for medicine?